Hey folks, we've gotten through a year packed with changes, and now we're reaching one of the most crucial turning points for James Gunn's new world, the DCU. The end of Peacemaker Season 2. Everyone's waiting to see where the DCU is heading after his adventures. Today we're going to look at, has the DCU been successful so far? And more importantly, after Peacemaker 2, what's the lineup of projects that Gunn and Safran have prepared? Why is this series the key to understanding big movies like Supergirl and Man of Tomorrow? Let's dive in and track everything. First off, let's take a quick look at the DCU's report card so far. This phase officially kicked off with the title Gods and Monsters, and we've seen a few key projects. Creature Commandos 2024, the first animated series that brought Gunn's signature bizarre comedic vibe and introduced characters like Rick Flag Sr. and Amanda Waller in new formats. Superman 2025, the most important cinematic starting point, a film that succeeded both critically and commercially in marking a solid and hopeful beginning for David Corenswet as the new Superman, showing that the DCU can have a brighter, more positive tone than the former DCEU. Peacemaker Season 2 2025. And now we come to Peacemaker. This season takes place directly after the events of the Superman film. James Gunn has emphasized that this season defines a new narrative path for the DCU, and it's the first TV project that fully showcases the consequences of the Superman movie. I think Creature Commandos, the first DCU project which Gunn said was like an appetizer for this world, was a good series. I've actually reviewed it on the channel, you can check it out. After that, the Superman movie was released, the first official and starting project of the new DC world under James Gunn. That film was good too. Although it had its critics, it wasn't a mind-blowing film, but overall it delivered a good Superman. And then we get to Peacemaker Season 2, which personally disappointed me with the final episode. I really wished to see a lot more in this series, and we'll get into the details of this news later. I feel that with all the noise Gunn made and the hype he created, the ending of this series was truly disappointing. Of course, I think if Gunn hadn't hyped it up so much, it wouldn't have been such a letdown for the audience. The series was generally progressing well until episode 7, but in the final episode, I think we were all waiting for at least a cool cameo or an exciting plot point that would show us the future path of the DCU. But the biggest thing we saw this season was the introduction of a new concept in the DCU called salvation. Based on 2008 comics, James Gunn has said that the ending of Peacemaker establishes a new storyline for the DC cinematic world and introduces a planet called Salvation, which is set to become a secret prison for supervillains. According to leaked information, in this storyline, Peacemaker is the first person to get trapped on Salvation for certain reasons, perhaps related to his new enemy Rick Flag Sr., and has no hope of returning to Earth. This plot opens the door for the introduction of many major DC villains, like Catwoman, Captain Cold, or Cheetah. By doing this, Gunn wants to rectify the mistake of the DCEU, where villains were often eliminated after one confrontation, and create a new playground for anti-hero teams or even strange collaborations, like Superman and Lex Luthor working together in the comics. This event will likely have a direct impact on future projects, especially the Waller series, as Amanda Waller is certainly behind the scenes of this space prison. But it depends on how much Gunn wants to use this adaptation. If he wants to adapt the entire Salvation concept, it eventually leads to the events of the Final Crisis comics, which I think could be a really interesting adaptation idea for the DCU's final event. But we'll have to wait and see what Gunn decides to do. I think we could have had a few good cameos or even a few seconds of a hint at the main villain of Chapter 1 in the final episode of Peacemaker, but Gunn didn't do it. After Peacemaker 2 finishes airing in late 2025, the DCU has many big projects lined up for 2026 and 2027, which we must now look at in light of this series' events. 2026 is full of exciting series and films, each defining a corner of the DCU. This year is the year of the DCU's big trilogy. 1 series and 2 cinematic films.
Lanterns. Likely air date early 2026. This series isn't a huge space epic, but rather a character-driven investigative mystery series in the style of True Detective, but with cosmic elements. The main focus is on Hal Jordan and John Stewart. These 2 Green Lantern Corps members return to Earth to solve a mysterious and complex murder case connected to the entire universe. This series introduces the vast cosmic world of the DCU and shows that Earth is just one corner of a wide universe full of cosmic core and major threats. The connection of this series to Superman, since we previously saw a Green Lantern in his movie, and likely the salvation storyline in Peacemaker 2, is very strong. Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, June 26, 2026. The film is entirely based on the acclaimed comic Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow, written by Tom King, and it will be a major, epic sci-fi adventure. James Gunn has emphasized that the DCU's Supergirl, unlike Superman, who was raised by a kind family, is a tougher and angrier character. She spent the first 14 years of her life on the remnants of Krypton, witnessing the death and destruction of her loved ones. This difference in upbringing makes her a more complex character with vengeful motivations. Given the spacefaring nature of the story, the film is expected to introduce new characters like Lobo, the bounty hunter, and expand the world beyond Earth. Clayface, September 11th, 2026. This project is directed by James Watkins, director of Speak No Evil, and, with a screenplay by Mike Flanagan, master of the horror genre, is said to be a body horror film. Clayface tells the story of Basil Carlo, a forgotten Hollywood actor, who abuses dangerous chemical concoctions to maintain his appeal and fame. This leads to a horrific accident, transforming him into a malleable clay-like creature. This film proves that the DCU is not just going to make comedy or action superhero movies. Instead, a film is planned for every genre: comedy, fantasy, horror. Although The Brave and the Bold introduces the main Batman, Clayface is the first standalone film that will show the DCU's Gotham City in a dark and terrifying tone. To evaluate the performance of the DCU, we must consider that this new universe planned by James Gunn and Peter Safran is officially underway. Therefore, the performance should be assessed in two areas: strategic planning and artistic execution of initial projects. Strengths of the DCU's performance in the Gods and Monsters phase. Unconditional cohesion, the one-universe approach. The biggest difference between the new DCU and the former DCEU is the absolute emphasis on unity. James Gunn, by announcing that all films and series will be narrated in one universe, and that each character will only have one consistent actor across all mediums, has tackled DC's biggest past weakness, fragmentation. This clarity in planning is very reassuring to both the audience and investors. Smart genre diversity. The DCU has not limited itself to one genre, example just action or just comedy, from the start. By positioning investigative series Lanterns, body horror films Clayface, and epic space adventures Supergirl alongside each other, Gunn is mitigating the risk of superhero fatigue by offering a diverse menu to different tastes. Emphasis on story authenticity. Script first. Gunn has repeatedly stressed that projects are not being made simply because of the character's name. Story quality is the priority. Inviting figures like Mike Flanagan to write Clayface shows that instead of dictating a management style, he gives artists the freedom to create attractive and unique stories. Gunn's weaknesses and challenges. Nepotism and personal connections. One of the consistent criticisms of Gunn is his repeated use of family members and his small circle of regular actors in big DCU projects, for example, Sean Gunn in various roles. While this is common among filmmakers, as the head of a major studio, it can create the perception that meritocracy is being sacrificed for personal comfort and familiarity. Lack of large-scale management experience. Gunn was a successful filmmaker before this, not a strategic executive. Managing a studio with immense financial and media pressure requires skills beyond making a good movie. Whether he can handle the organizational structures, finances, and political complexities of Hollywood in the long run remains a major and uncertain challenge. And finally, one of the biggest current problems is that James Gunn, according to his own words, knows what the final event or outcome will be, but he doesn't know the path to get there. This is a double-edged sword. It could lead to a disastrous narrative across the entire universe, or it could lead to an excellent one. Another point is that I think James Gunn should be more of a manager in this universe like Kevin Feige, rather than trying to create and write projects. He should delegate the writing and directing to other people and focus on the coherence and overall projects of the universe himself. The year 2026 is a true test for James Gunn. By then, he will have directed and written the Superman film and at least one season of Peacemaker himself. But Supergirl and Clayface are the first DCU cinematic works made by other directors and writers, not Gunn. The success of these two films, especially in maintaining tonal coherence and quality, will indicate whether the Gunn model can work across a cinematic universe without his direct involvement in every detail. 2026, with the three major projects Lanterns, Supergirl, and Clayface, officially expands the Gods and Monsters phase from a hopeful start to a complete cinematic universe with diverse genres. This is the year the DCU will expand its identity beyond Superman and Peacemaker. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Until the next video, goodbye.